Hello Internet, and welcome to Purple Theory, where theories and fun come to life.
Quick enough to be efficient, but long enough to make it last. It was hell for them, but it was heaven for me. And then I leave, without the slightest bit of guilt.
William Afton, the man behind the slaughter. Purple guy! Springtrap, Scraptrap, Burntrap, Greasetrap, Many Room 1280, Malware, Fridge, Smith, Vincent, Dave Miller, Evil Derby with a chainsaw. Wait. Dave who? Whatever you want to call him, William Afton has had a bunch of representations throughout the years. Be it the mad scientist, megalomaniacal killer, or the silly Vincent we all know and love, you've seen him. But what would you say if I told you that this franchise, along with its fandom, has overlooked the best representation of this monster of a man for years? Let me introduce you to Dave Miller, the main antagonist of the book The Silver Eyes, the first official Five Nights at Freddy's novel released in 2015. It's a great book if you ignore the other two of the trilogy and take it as a standalone novel. The book follows an alternate narrative as Charlotte Emily, Henry's daughter, now grown up along with her friends Lamar, Jessica, John, Marla and Carlton, decide to explore the new abandoned Freddy's restaurant. Upon questioning Carlton, Charlie, short for Charlotte, discovers that a mall has been built over the abandoned pizzeria in an attempt to attract businesses. After a failed attempt at exploring the building, they come back, this time ready, with flashlights and everything. Once inside, we meet our villain, Dave Miller. Dave is presented as this tall, slender security guard. The moment they meet him, Charlie senses that something is off about him. The group apologizes for trespassing, assuring Dave that they only wanted to explore the place. Carlton asks Dave if he can guide them around and that afterwards they won't come back. To put it more shortly, Dave agrees and from then on everything spirals into insanity. Animatronics go haywire, Carlton gets kidnapped by Bonnie, and the others flee. Wait, Bonnie isn't yellow, is he? Chapter 9 opens with Carlton waking up inside an animatronic suit. The door squealed like an injured animal as it glided open, almost of its own accord, the frame empty. After a moment's pause, a yellow rabbit poked its head around the corner, its ears tilting at a jaunty angle. It was still for a moment, almost posing. Then, it came in with a bouncing walk, graceful with none of the stiff, mechanistic movements of the animatronic animal. It did a small dance step, spun and took a deep bow. Then it reached up and took off its own head, revealing the man inside the costume. "I guess I shouldn't be surprised," Carlton said, his nerves triggering an automatic wisecrack. "Never trust a rabbit, I say." It didn't make sense. It wasn't funny. But the words were coming out of his mouth, without any input from his brain. He still felt sick. His head still ached and he had a sudden visceral clarity. This is what happened to Michael. You are what happened to Michael.
"Don't speak,"
Dave said. Carlton opened his mouth to answer back, but the smart remark died on his tongue when he saw the guard's face. He had seemed somehow faded when they met, depleted and ineffectual. But now, as he stood over Carlton in his absurd-looking rabbit costume, he looked different. His face was the same, technically, his gaunt features and sunken eyes, his skin that seemed to have worn thin, ready to snap from strain. But now there was a mean, undeniable strength in him, a rodentite vitality that Carlton recognized. It had occurred to Carlton years before that there were two types of nasty people. There were the obvious ones, like his 6th grade English teacher who yelled and threw erasers, or the kid in 5th grade who picked fights with smaller children after school. That type was easy. Their offenses public, brutal and undeniable. But then, There was the other kind of petty tyrant, those who grew spiteful with their small scraps of power, feeling more and more abused by the year, by family who did not appreciate them, by neighbors who slighted them in imperceptible ways, by a world that left them, somehow lacking something essential. Before him stood someone who had spent so much of his life fighting like a corner rat that he had taken on the mantle of bitter sadism as an integral part of himself. He would strike out against others and revel in their pain, feeling righteously that the world owed him his cruel pleasures. The guard's face, with its malevolent delight in Carlton's pain and fear, was one of the most terrifying things he had ever seen. He opened and closed his mouth, then valiantly found his voice. "What kind of name for a serial killer is Dave?" It came out as a trembling croak, lacking even the echo of bravado. Dave did not seem to hear him.
I told you not to move, Carlton,
He said calmly. He set the rabbit's head down on a plastic crate and began fiddling with the fastenings at the back of his neck.
It's not an order. It's a friendly warning. Do you know what I've put you in?
"Your girlfriend," Carlton said, and Dave made a thin curve of a smile.
You amusing.
He said with distaste.
But no. You're not wearing a costume, Carlton. Not precisely. You see, these suits were designed for two purposes. To be worn by men like me.
He gestured fluidly towards himself with something that might have been pride.
And to be used as working animatronics, like the ones you see on stage. Do you understand?
Carlton nodded, or began to, but Dave's raised eyebrows stopped him.
I said, don't move.
The neck of his costume came open, and he began to undo a second fastening at his back as he talked.
You see, all of the animatronic parts in that suit are still in. They are simply held back by spring locks. Like these.
Dave went to the pile of costumes and selected one, bringing the fuzzy green torso, headless, over to Carlton. He held out the costume, waggling two twisted pieces of metal that were attached to the sides of the neck.
These are spring locks,
he said, bringing the piece of metal so close to Carlton's face he could not focus his eyes on it.
Watch.
He did something, dodged some of the locks, so imperceptibly that Carlton could not see what he had done, and it snapped shut with a sound like a backfiring car. Carlton stiffed, suddenly taking the order not to move deadly seriously.
That's a very old costume, one of the first ones Harry made. You can trick these spring locks very, very easily if you don't know what you're doing. It takes almost no movement at all.
"Henry?" Carlton said, trying to focus on what he was being told. He could still hear the snap, as if it had lodged into his head like a song. "Who's Henry?"
Henry,
Dave repeated.
your friend Charlie's father. Did you not know he made this place?
"No, right. Well, I just thought of him as Charlie's dad,"
Of course.
Dave said, the kind of polite murmur people make when they don't care.
Well, that's one of his first suits. And if you trigger those spring locks, two things will happen. First, all the locks will snap right into you, making deep cuts all over your body, and a split second later, all the animatronic parts they've been holding back, all the sharp steel and hard plastic will instantly be driven into your body. You will die, but it will be slow. You'll feel your organs punctured. The suit will grow wet with your blood, and you will know you're dying for long minutes. You'll try to scream, but you will be unable to. Your vocal cords will be severed, and your lungs will fill with your own blood until you drown in it.
There was a faraway look in his eyes, and Carlton knew with chilling certainty that Dave wasn't predicting. He was reminiscing. "How?" Carlton's voice broke, and he tried again. "How do you know that?" he said, managing a raspy whisper. Dave met his eyes and smiled widely.
How do you think?
After this, the gang manages to regroup and get back to Freddy's for Carlton. They manage to knock Dave unconscious and tie him up before waking him. Now, what I'm about to read is what I think is the best part of this entire book, and the perfect definition of Afton. Dave continued to stare, and it was only after a moment that Charlie considered that he might actually be staring at something. She turned, following his line of sight, then suddenly she recoiled. On the table, along the wall, sat a rabbit's head.
You want this?
Charlie stood and approached the mask.
You need this?
She added in a whisper. She picked it up carefully, the light catching the edges of the spring locks that filled the mascot's head. She picked it up and carried it almost ceremoniously to Dave, who tipped his head down in a barely noticeable fashion. Charlie placed it over his head, not being nearly as cautious as he had been with Carlton. When the mascot's head was fully setting on his shoulders, the large face raised itself until it was almost completely upright. Dave's eyes opened steadily, glassy and without emotion, like the robots on stage outside. Lines of sweat began to trickle down from under the mask, a stain darkening the color of his uniform shirt.
My dad trusted you,
Charlie said. She was on her knees now, looking intently at the rabbit's face.
What did you do to him?
Her voice broke.
I helped him create.
The voice came out from inside the mask, but it was not Dave's. Not the pitiful, sour tone they would have recognized. The voice of the rabbit was smooth and rich, almost musical. It was confident, somehow reassuring, a voice that might convince you of almost anything. Dave cocked his head to the side and the mask shifted so that only one of his bulbous eyes could peer through the sockets.
We both wanted love.
He said in those melodious tones.
Your father loved, and now I have loved.
You killed, Carlton said, then burst out with something that sounded like a laugh. He seemed more lucid now, as if anger was focusing his mind. He shook loose of Jessica's hands on his arms and knelt down to the floor. You sick bastard, Carlton sputtered. And you've created monsters. The kids you killed are still here. You've imprisoned them.
They are home, with me.
Dave's voice was coarse, and the large mascot's head slid forward and tilted as he spoke.
Their happiest day.
How do we get out?
Charlie placed one hand on the mascot's head and pushed it back into position on Dave's shoulders. The fur felt wet and sticky, as though the costume itself were sweating.
There isn't a way out anymore. All that is left is family.
His round eye reappeared through one of the sockets, glimmering in the lights. He locked eyes with Charlie for a moment, struggling to lean in closer.
Oh, you're something beautiful, aren't you?
Charlie recoiled as if he had touched her. What's that supposed to mean? She took another step back, fighting a surge of revulsion. Well then, you're trapped here too, and you're not going to hurt anyone else, John said in response to the veiled threat.
I don't have to. When it gets dark, they will awaken. The children's spirits will rise. They will kill you. I'll just walk out in the morning, stepping on your corpses one by one.
He looked at each of them in turn, as if relishing the bloody scene.
They'll kill you too,
Jessica said.
No, I'm quite confident that I will survive.
Really? John said suddenly. I'm pretty sure they're the spirits of the kids you killed. Why would they hurt us? It's you they're after.
They don't remember.
Dave said.
They've forgotten. The dead do forget. All they know is that you are here, trying to take away their happiest day. You're intruders.
He lowered his voice to a hush.
You are grown-ups.
They looked at one another.
We're not.
Jessica began.
You're close enough, especially to a vengeful, confused, and frightened child. None of you will survive the night.
And what makes you think they won't kill you? John said again, and Dave's eyes took on something shining, almost beautiful.
Because I am one of them.
It's here where we can see Scott's original plans for Afton. Unlike the mad scientist he is today, Afton used to be just a guy. Just a psycho who killed children and called it family. And it's terrifying. Notice how his demeanor completely changes once he gets the mask back? It's like the rabbit and Dave are completely two different persons. Afton being the one in the middle. It's not just that he knows his secret is out and is trying his best to grasp on the little control he still has over the situation. He's hiding in his persona, in his own head, his fantasy. William Afton, a horrible man, but a great character. But hey, that's just a theory, a purple theory. Thanks for watching. And I will see you on the flip side. Hopefully. Charlie tried to cry out, but her windpipe was being crushed. She was whipped around as if she weighed nothing, and she found herself face to face with the yellow rabbit. Dave's eyes were shining through, triumphant. He had his arm around her neck, squeezing her throat so tightly that she could scarcely breathe. He held her so close, it was almost an embrace. She could smell the costume, stained fur and years of putrid sweat, blood and cruelty. He spoke, still staring at Charlie.
You're staying.
Absolutely not, Clay said, taking on the group's authority. Dave dug his fingers deeper into Charlie's neck, and she made a strangled sound.
I will kill this one right here while you watch, unless you do as I say,
he said, and his voice was almost pleasant. Clay looked at him for a long moment, calculating, then nodded. Okay, he said, his voice calm. We'll do as you say. What do you want?
Good,
Dave said. He relaxed his grip on Charlie's neck, and she took a shaky breath. Charlie looked up at the man in the rabbit suit, and he met her gaze. It was you. You killed Michael. You killed Sammy. You took them from me. His eyes should have held something fierce and dangerous. They should have been windows to the rotten core inside. But they were only eyes, flat and empty. Charlie plunged her hands into a gap beneath the costume's head. Dave drew back, but she held on.
If you want to be one of them, then be one of them.
She shouted, and she tripped the spring locks. Dave's eyes widened, and then he screamed. Charlie jerked her hands free, barely evading the locks as they snapped open and plunged into his neck. She took a step back, watching as Dave crumbled to the ground, still screaming as the costume released. Part by part, the animatronic insides pierced his flesh, ripping up his organs, tearing through his body as if it were not even there. At some point he stopped screaming, but he still writhed on the floor for what felt like long minutes before he went still.